Hello, everyone. This is Pharaoh Vincent with Nation 506 and 817, coming to you with a very uh, quick addendum to a previous video where I was talking about formations, more specifically long range formations. And there's a few questions that have come up since that. And so I wanted to take a few minutes just to address some of those questions in a video, but also to really hone in on one subset that I think I didn't do a good enough job explaining in that video. And that is, what is the air quote best formation for a long range city in a loss event specifically? So, just to hyper focus on this topic, the best way I can think to do it, and I'm using the uranium mines because it's the easiest way for me to get all of my troops. um, but the best formation that I find has a little bit of a challenge, and that is it depends on what you're looking at for a city, right? If I was looking to attack a city, I have a general formula that I kind of go with to help me determine how I like to attack that city. And so what it is I like to start off with the size of the city in question. So generally we all agree on the 1198. The idea of the 1198 is just so that you have these individual troops that tank hits that would otherwise deal more damage to larger groups. So what am I talking about? The Titan Thor laser. You don't really want to eat those losses in a non-loss event because why would you care? But in a loss-based event, it's fine if you are eating some Thor kills. It's fine if the chain lightning is killing a few things off. It's fine if the city's turrets take out your armored infantry, for instance. You want those absorbing hits because it kind of helps to keep those abilities from hitting your good units, and thereby you actually losing troops. So that's why you do it. But when it comes to how much you send, that varies. And I'm intentionally leaving the shredders because I want to talk about, okay, well, hey, this is the 1198 setup. You put one of every troop, right? And I mean, I'll put the T9 cannon because I'm still recruiting Doomsday cannons. I just got that all set up. So in a 1198, you're putting in all of these troops. And then your idea is, okay, well, how big is the city I'm hitting? And my general formula is, oh, I have too many zombies. And what my general formula is quite simple. It is, how many troops am I hitting? So if I'm hitting a city with 100,000 troops, I want to be using around, 1,000 shredders for every 100,000 troops. And that's kind of what I do. Please note that if you're using the T11 tanks instead, then what I would also recommend, like with the T11 tanks, is it's double, because the unit count is 5, the unit count on this is 10, so you're looking at 2,000 shredders for 100,000 troops. And that's a good general rule of thumb. And I specify the words rule of thumb because it's not concrete. There's a lot of factors that go into it. How strong is your female Titan's crown, right? That ability that puts that little red barrier up. How strong is your melee stats would really factor into that. I mean, if you're hitting, 1,000%, melee hit points, you might not need the same amount of troops as what I'm recommending. But the goal of that unit is really to allow your back row the time it needs to deal damage in order for you to win the battle. And your ideal spot is you want your melee troops to live at least as far as their back row. Preferably up to their Titans. Like right when their back row dies is when your front line should be about gone, if not completely gone. And then you should have just their Titans remaining when you hit them. So if you find yourself sending 2,000 shredders at 100,000 troops, and you're only losing like 150 shredders 150 tanks, or 100 shredders by the time you get to their Titans, you send a few too many, and that particular city or cities like that, you might be able to tone that back. But I think it's a good rule of thumb. That's what I've always done. And then from here, we have decisions to make. If I had enough T10 or T11 cannons, I'd be using those all day, every day. They are pound for pound one of the best fighting units for a loss event that is in the game. You know, the EMP cannons are amazing units, but they, you know, you lose 10 units every time they get hit, whereas you only lose 5 units every time the Doomsday Cannon gets hit. Because my count isn't there yet, it's going to take me probably another month or two. I am going to max out snipers. And that is going to be my formation for hitting a city with 100,000 troops. If the city had, let's say, 200,000 troops, then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to take... Come on. Work with me, scroll bar. There we go. I'm going to take this and crank this bad boy up to 2,000, right? Because again, 1,000 troops for every 100,000 you're fighting. And this is where I would take my baseline. And, you know, I can tell you from my own experience that even that baseline for me is a little bit borderline, like, too much melee. I can almost go with less. But I also have pretty decent melee stats. You know, for me in my particular city, right, I'm sitting at 203% defense and 386% melee attack, and that is without, like, I still have farming commander skills, so I'm missing, you know, 30% melee hit points, because I sit around 425 to 430, and that's enough for me to take out anyone's farm. Like, if it's a farm, I can have my troop numbers. If it's an actual battle city and somebody's put money into it, I might need more. So you kind of have to really play with it. And because it's a loss-based event, a lot of people will have a hard time playing with it. The things that are going to help you with that, and I just want to stress this, I've talked about it in other videos, I just want to stress it today. This skill right here needs to be maxed out if you can. Obviously mine's at 15, it's not at 20. It's an incredible ask, I know. It's a lot of skill books. It is more important than your long range attack. It is more important than your every other stat you have, because if you are fighting in a void, this is going to turn troops that would have been permanently killed into wounded, and you will pick them up at the hospital. And the higher this skill is, the more you do that. The reason it's important isn't because it makes you better in combat, but because it gives you more ability to play with the game. It gives you more ability to go out and make some mistakes and not have it cost you as much time. The problem with losing troops isn't that you've lost troops, it's that you've lost time. So that's why not sending too many melee troops is important, is because you don't want to spend time recruiting melee troops that you don't have to. And with the proper officer skills and setup, and as well with the new void potion thingies and some alliance skills, you can really play around with it and save yourself some time. I highly recommend, while your alliance is, you know, rolling around with their emergency room active, right, when they have this skill up, that's a good time with all of the other things going on to really play with it and say, okay, well, hey, like, is this a good number? Is this not a good number? That's the time to do it, is during this window where that is in effect. So anyways, I just wanted to kind of break it all down, talk about it, and really give you a quick-ish update, but you can't stress it enough. Go forward knowing that it's okay to fight, it's okay to lose troops, it is perfectly fine to make mistakes. Set yourself a reasonable threshold to stop, and make sure you stick to it. You know, for me, that threshold is 1 week's worth of recruitment. I don't want to lose more than 1 week's worth of my troops. if I lose more than 1 week, that just it takes too much time to recover, and it's not worth it. So whatever that number is for you, that's what you might want to stick to. And again, my recommendation, if you have a ton of troops and you don't care about losing some extra ones, go ham, have fun. If you are really low on troops because you had a very bad void like I did a few months ago and I'm still recovering from it, make sure that you are taking that additional time to recuperate and have a lower threshold. I was at 1.4 million troops before a void about 4 months ago, and I lost everything. I went down to literally my hospital capacity for troops because I hit recall all at a really bad time and lost 600,000 troops in a single hit. So over the course of that void, and I'd lost 200,000 troops up to that point, attacking and fighting and doing all these other things. So like that particular void, I lost 800,000 troops at 1.4 million. I was down to almost what I could have in my hospital. So anyways, just a huge thing to mention. I'm still recovering from that event 4 months ago. If you are conservative about it and you set a reasonable threshold, you're going to be fine. So anyways, I hope that helps everyone. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave it down in the comments. And as always, like, comment, subscribe. It does help the channel out greatly, and I am trying to grow this channel so that more people can see it, so that we have better people at playing AOZ, because I want to fight strong opponents, and I want to fight with strong allies. So that is the whole point of this channel. I thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.